In this lesson, we're going to continue to work on slope, but this time, instead of us using the right triangle, what we're going to do is we are going to use a formula for slope. So when we're using the formula for slope, what we're going to do is we're going to use 2 points. Remember, slope is how far did we go up compared to how far we went across. So up and down would be the y-axis or y part of our points, and the run or going across will be the x part of our points. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to label our points as x1 and y1 and x2 and y2. Simply the first x and the first y, the second x and the second y. So then we're going to use this formula, this problem, to figure out our slope. So we're going to take the y2, which is the 5, and we're going to subtract the y1, which is the 4. And then we're going to take the x2, which is the negative 10, and we're going to subtract the x1, which is the negative 8. So 5 minus 4 is 1. And then when we do negative 10 minus negative 8, remember that becomes plus. So negative 10 plus 8 will be negative 2. So our slope is negative 1/2, which means it's negative. And remember, when you have a negative slope, it's going down to the right. In the next problem, we're going to label our points again as x1, y1, and x2, y2. So we're going to subtract the y's, y2, negative 2 minus 7. And then we're going to subtract the x's, 3 minus 3. So negative 2 take away 7 is negative 9 divided by 0. Well, remember, we can't divide by 0. So since we can't divide by 0, that's going to be undefined. And remember, an undefined slope is a vertical line. Okay? All right, let's do the next one. So we have x1 and y1, and we have x2 and y2. We're going to subtract the y's first, so 13 take away 5, and then we're going to subtract the x's, 4 take away 0. Remember, they need to go in the same order. y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. So 13 minus 5 is 8, and 4 minus 0 is 4, so our slope is 8 over 4, which reduces to 2. That's a positive number, so the positive slope is going to go up and to the right. Okay, in the next one, we're going to label our parts as x1, y1, and x2, y2. So we're going to subtract the y's, 6, take away 6, subtract the x's, 4 minus negative 1. Remember, minus a negative is a plus. So we're going to take 6 minus 6, which is 0, and 4 plus 1 is 5. 0 divided by anything is 0. So a 0 slope, remember, is a horizontal line. It goes straight across. All right, so let's take a look. What if we have a table of values? Well, it's exactly the same thing as if we have our points in parentheses. And because we have so many, it doesn't matter which points you pick. You can use any that you want. So I'm going to use these two. So this one is my x1 and my y1, and my x2 and my y2. So I'm going to subtract, and I'm going to take negative 2 minus negative 3, and 2 take away 1. When I do that, remember minus a negative is really a plus. So negative 2 plus 3 is positive 1. And 2 minus 1 is 1, so our slope is 1, which means that this is a positive slope. Our positive slope, remember, goes up to the right. But let me also show you a little trick that we could do that would make things quicker. As long as we are changing by the same amount each time, in this case I'm adding 1, and in this case I'm adding 1, which is the same amount each time, remember that our rise over our run is our slope. Rise means what is the change of the y values? They're going up 1. What is the change of the x values? They're going up 1. And that's the exact same thing that we got when we subtracted the points. So let's try that method on our next one. If you take a look, every single time, these are going up by 1 for our x values. And if you take a look, every single time, these are being subtracted by 3. So our slope as rise over run is negative 3 over 1, which is negative 3, which is a negative slope. And that means it's going down to the right. In the next one, we take a look, and what's happening is that we are adding 3 each time on our x values, and we're adding 2 each time on our y values. So our slope, rise over run, is 2/3, which is positive, and that means our line is going to go up to the right. So what patterns do we recognize? We recognize our rise over run, that is our pattern to find our slope. So let's take a look at this one. Y equals negative 5. So what's happening is we're not changing at all in the y column, but in the x column, we're going up by 1 every time. So rise over run, 0 over 1, 0 divided by anything is 0. That means that the slope is 0, and the 0 slope is a horizontal line. In our next example, x equals 2, notice that the x values don't change at all, but the y values are going up by 1. So rise over run would be 1 over 0, which is going to be, you can't take any number divided by 0, so that's going to be undefined. And an undefined is a vertical line, goes straight up and down. So we found out today that we can either take 2 points and subtract the y's and subtract the x's to find our slope. Or in the table, we can do our rise over our run to find our slope.